Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is walking on eggshells around their partner. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
Correct. We are not trained in this. We are not professionals. So please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs on the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, let's dive into today's letter.
Let's do it. So this letter comes from Feeling Not Enough in Kentucky, whose pronouns are she, her, and who is writing from Kentucky. I, 28, trans female, she, her, have been dating my partner, 26, cis female, she, her, for around 6 months now in a monogamous long-distance relationship. My partner identifies as fat, and although she is proud of that fact, and I love that she's body positive, she often tells me that she feels that I'm not attracted to her. She has seen my friendships and dating history of people I surround myself with and states that I have romantic feelings for them when I don't. She's accused me of being attracted to my therapist, and I'm not. Also, I have not had gender reassignment surgery yet because of finances mostly, and it's difficult for me to unpack dysphoria and to feel safe and trusted with her during sex. Therefore, I don't orgasm often, if at all. We talk often and I listen, give her reassurance, ask for clarity on how she's feeling and what we can build together to help each other feel safe. She has a history of trauma with attachment/abandonment wounds, but her anxiety is leading me to walk on eggshells around her. I don't feel comfortable hanging out with my family and friends without being accused of abandoning her. On the surface, it's about her weight, but I know deep down it's many, many other things. I feel her anxious attachment to me is pulling me away from my work, relationships with family and friends, and diminishing how I feel about myself. I know that, quote, my best isn't good enough isn't in reality, but I regularly feel that way around her. We have serious co-regulating talks on average at least once every 3 days. The long distance is hard on her. One day I wasn't in the right headspace and she came forward accusing me of having romantic feelings for a friend. She demanded I tell her I'm still attracted to her. I told her that I have a history of dating thinner and overweight women. She took that as I wasn't attracted to her. She feels like she wants to break up. Friends, I'm tired of defending myself. I'm not sure the reassurance is helping. Question, how can I navigate assisting her with how we feel? Or should we just break up?
Oh, my darling, thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this question. I know how exhausted you are right now. I know how tiring it can be to constantly have to be so emotionally vigilant and to be attempting to fill something that constantly is emptying, this type of constant reassurance can be, obviously reassurance is a good thing that's required in all relationships, but to a point, really. I know you are trying your best and it's exhausting to have your best not feel like enough. Sam and I are going to dive into the emotional complexities of this and give you some advice as to how to navigate it in just a minute. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I think what stands out to me about this letter is how challenging it can be and feel to feel like you're the only one that can offer your loved one reassurance.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
Like it's a very different feeling to feel like you are one of the things that offers your partner reassurance, yes. Right? Like the idea that it's like, oh, there's a group of us, or my partner is also doing a lot of things on their own to help figure out how to move forward, right? And as somebody who has dated and is married to somebody with mental health issues, including, like, I am also somebody who has mental health issues, right? And insecurities and all of the stuff, right? Because I think a lot of us have all of those things too, right? Like, for sure it's work to be in relationship and to work together, to do this like co-regulating stuff that you're talking about, where it's like, okay, well, let's talk about what's coming up for you. Let's figure out how we want to move forward. Like, for sure. Absolutely. That should be present in a relationship, right? Like that's good, meaty stuff to be doing. But there is a difference between being one of the many things that are in place to support a person and being the only thing that's in place to being supportive, and that like every action that you take is somehow a reflection on the other person, and whether or not they are worthy, whether or not they're valuable, whether or not the relationship is safe and stable. Like, that is so much pressure to feel like you have to take care of her entirety, right? And not just the aspects that feel available to you.
Yeah, totally. You know, I just want to say to you, you have an unshakable human right to be imperfect, to not show up to your relationship at your best all the time. And the intense pressure you feel and the emotional vigilance, the eggshells that you feel like you have to walk on, you have to say everything just right, and you have to say it enough so that your partner believes you. That is unsustainable, and it takes away from your unshakable human right to be imperfect. Like in the story, I was struck. I didn't catch it when I read it the first time, but when Sam was reading it and Sam said, you know, one day I wasn't feeling my best, and I responded so-and-so, and, you know, well, you have a right to not be your best. You have a right to show up imperfectly in this relationship, just like your partner does, you know?
Right.
And a relationship in which one person is required to be perfect all the time is not going to work. And I want to say something so clearly to you that, and you know, it's funny, what I'm about to say, I'm saying from the other person's perspective. Like, I am more like your girlfriend than I am like you.
Sure.
Historically, I have been needier. I have been irregulated. I have been, or unregulated. There we go. I've required my partners to affirm me and regulate me in such a way that was unstable. Right. And let me say, there is nothing you could say to me. There's not a way that you could say it or a different phrase that would make me act differently from your actions. This is all about me. This is all about your girlfriend. You can't, there's not a different way you could say I'm attracted to you to make your girlfriend believe that you're attracted to her.
Sure. No, that's really real, right? And sorry, go
unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, that's the truth, you know, and it's sad for everybody. It's sad for everybody because your girlfriend deserves to breathe in this good love. Your girlfriend deserves to rest and feel loved and nurtured, and to stop her emotional vigilance, because right now her insecurity is saying you have to be vigilant. You have to pay attention. They don't actually love you. You know, she's not actually that attracted to you, you know? And so she's constantly looking for those cracks and those holes so that she can find them first so that they don't sneak up on her, right? That's what her fear is telling her.
For sure.
But if she's constantly looking, if she's constantly telling you, I need you to prove to me how much you love me perfectly every single day, she's never going to hear it from you until she decides to believe it. And that's something that you can say to her in this negotiation, whether you should stay together or not. You can say, at this point, you're choosing not to believe my truth, and there's nothing else I can say. I can't say this differently. There's not another way I can say I'm not attracted to my therapist, or I don't have feelings for my exes or my friends.
Yep.
Do you agree?
No, I absolutely agree. And I think that it's hard for you to not be believed, right? Like the idea of you just like keep saying these things over and over again, and she's not believing you, right?
Yeah.
I think like she might be believing you in the moment. She might be soothed by it in the moment, but then like, you know, however much time later, it's clear that was just a surface level believing, right? There's a core something where she believes that you're going to leave her, or that you're going to cheat on her with your therapist, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's not a sustainable way of practicing a relationship, because what are you supposed to do in that situation, right?
Yeah.
You can't. The issue here is that she's looking to you to solve the insecurity that she's feeling, right? She's like, oh, yes, not feeling enough in Kentucky is going to solve the problem for me. I won't feel insecure if they can just love me enough, if they can love me in the right way, or she can love me in the right way, right? And the thing is that like, that's not possible, right? The self-assurance, the ability to move through the world without constantly looking for the cracks has to come from within. It has to be an internal process to get to a point where you are seeing the cracks and not freaking out about them, right? Like that is, and that's really challenging, right? That's so much easier said than done. And I have deep empathy for your
I really
your partner.
do.
Absolutely, because I have been there, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can totally understand it. But what I am afraid is happening is that you two have discovered like a very quick fix that is unsustainable for both of you. And that instead of creating a place where you are both building a solid foundation for what your relationship is going to look like, instead is just creating this thing where you constantly need to be in contact with each other so that you can like regulate your emotions. And that's so unsustainable, right? You're already talking about the fact that like you're not spending as much time with your family and friends. You're not doing the work that you need to be doing in order to live, right? Because this relationship is so all consuming. There is no place where you can leave her to stand on some foundation. You're constantly having to hold her up. And that's not sustainable for you. It's also 100% not sustainable for her, right? This is not a thing where you are the bad person in this relationship who's like trying to get out of your responsibilities, right? Like this is a situation where the way that you two are interacting with each other is causing you both a lot of harm and stress, and is not actually building towards something sustainable. It is just holding together something that otherwise would just immediately fall apart.
Yeah. And man, I have a lot of empathy for everybody in this relationship. And like I said before, I actually see myself more in your girlfriend in that my understanding of myself is so rooted to external validation that, I mean, it literally feels impossible to nurture myself and affirm myself and feel as temporarily safe as I do, you know, if we're talking about beauty, you know, or attraction, when my wife says she thinks I'm attractive, that will always feel bigger and warmer and safer than me saying I'm attractive, or here we go, than me saying the way I look doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That my worthiness doesn't have anything to do with my appearance, and that how I feel about myself has nothing to do with my appearance. You know, like doing that really fucking hard body neutral work where it's not just that you're body positive, but that you're neutral, you know, that you don't even have to do this negotiation. But I also know that your girlfriend's just as tired as you are, but in a different way. Because you're both constantly trying to fill something in a way that is unfillable. You know, like, I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of empathy for everybody right now because I just know what a steep hill this is going to be. Here, like, don't let me mince my words. Like, I think you should just break up. And it's been a minute since I've said that.
That is true. It has been.
And I don't mean to be negative or, too blunt about it, but I think that there are some fundamental incompatibilities right now that, unless extreme care, time, space, therapy was put into it, like, I don't think that you can rectify this cycle that you've gotten yourself into. You need time and space from each other, at least, you need a break, at least, if this is going to work. You need to figure out a different language to speak to each other in.
For sure. Absolutely.
I'm just thinking like the one thing I want to say that I feel like I'm stuck on is like, I used to need my partner to convince me of things all the time. I needed them to convince me that I was lovable, convince me that they were trustworthy, convince me that I was beautiful and desirable, convince me that they didn't have feelings for their friends, or that it was okay that they were, friends with their exes or whatever. But convincing is temporary, and it's a lot different than actually believing someone.
Right. Yes, that's such an important distinction to make, right? Because there's a difference between saying something like, oh, I'm feeling kind of insecure about your relationship with your friend. Can you tell me if there's anything going on there? And believing the response, right? And you saying, nope, there's nothing. And they're just a friend, right? And I'm saying like, okay, that's what I needed to hear, right? And then them doing the work of believing that to be true.
Yes. And let me tell you, it is work. I just want to say really quickly that as the anxiously attached, insecure partner in every relationship ever, the literal thing that had to happen. Well, one, I had to be with somebody who was trustworthy and consistent.
Which helps.
But two,
which helps.
I had to choose to believe them. I had to change my neurological path.
Yep.
And that's literally all I did it's not all. I mean, obviously, all I did is a little too simplifying, but like I had these very issues in my fucking marriage because I'm so used to that call and response affirmation cycle, instead of actually resting in my love, resting in the trust, resting in the stability of my relationship. I was so used to the call and response of like, affirm, affirm, affirm. I'm feeling anxious, affirm, right? And in this relationship, I went from one that was like very unstable and very based on a call and response trust system, to one in which I would call and be like, are you trustworthy? And my wife would be like, yes. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, are you trustworthy today? And she'd be like, yeah.
Still.
And then I'd be like, okay, but like, are you trustworthy? Not, and literally after months of that, I realized the thing that was standing in the way of our trust was me. It was me.
This sort of, realization that I think just like came for me in the past like few years, that like the thing that needs to change is my own belief in myself and the things I'm trying to tell myself, was like really transformational.
When you say transformational, I was like, well, it made me self-loathe more. So
okay, well, let's talk about that. But this realization of the fact that like I had been doing so much work to tell myself the appropriate things. And I just like, the difference was that I just refused to believe myself, right? Like, and then this whole realization that it's like, oh, are you kidding me? The only thing that I have to do now is actually believe what I'm saying. And it was like, oh, like it was a click that was like so helpful, because it just was like, this was the missing piece, right? I'd read so many books. I had gone to therapy for so long. I had done so much like head and heart work about like, okay, how do I transform? How do I shift my perspective? And I was doing all of that, and I just was not believing it. And I will say that like I was in therapy for however many years, like 12 years before that realization suddenly helped me do things differently. And like, of course it's not perfect. And of course, like there are lots of times when I don't believe myself, right? Like that is still something that's happened. But like, I just want to say that like, that is a crucial piece of the self-work that we need to do, which is that we actually have to believe ourselves.
And let me turn it, I've been talking from the perspective of your girlfriend. Let me turn it to you in Kentucky. Like what my wife did during that time when I said, are you trustworthy? And she said, yes. And I said, are you trustworthy? And yes, week after week. And eventually she looked me dead in the eye and said, there's nothing else I can say. I can't make you believe this for me. I can act trustworthy. I can show you in my actions that I'm trustworthy. But going back to what Sam just pointed out, all Willow had to do was believe that she was doing enough, that she was trustworthy, that she couldn't do any more to convince me. She saw immediately that it was on me to choose to trust her, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I will turn this to for you and say, you know who you are. You know what your capacity is. And you've told us in the letter that you're at capacity. You can't keep going like this anymore. So you can look at your love and say, I can't do anymore. I have said my truth. I have been honest. I have been loving. I've been patient. I have told you the truth. I cannot tell you the truth in a different way that will make you believe it. And for that reason, like Shark Tank, I'm out.
I was going to say, are we doing a Shark Tank reference for this?
I didn't mean to, but it just came out that way. And I'm not laughing at your breakup. I'm just saying, like, know your truth. Know that you have done enough, that you are the one to tell yourself that you've done enough and to put those boundaries up in relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is hard. This is so much. This is easy to say from the outside and so much harder to be on the inside doing it. But I think the thing that we want to offer you is that, like, you deserve to be with somebody who is going to believe you when you tell them that you love them, that you're attracted to them, that you want to be with them, right? You deserve to be with somebody who doesn't make you feel like you're constantly having to prove yourself or to not say the wrong thing or to make sure that you are propping them up constantly. And it just doesn't feel like the relationship that you're in right now is that relationship, right? Yes. And you deserve to have someone who can stand on their own 2 feet. And your partner also deserves to find a place where she can also be her own support, be her own scaffolding. And it doesn't sound like she's getting that in this relationship either. So I think this is all really challenging and hard, and I wish you all the best. But the reason why we're saying this is because we want you to have something that's going to be much more nutritious for you.
Yes.
And we want something that's going to be much more nutritious for your partner as well.
Yes, absolutely. We love you both, and we know this is hard. Thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this letter.
We hope this helps. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more content from us, or if you want any of our episodes ad-free, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to all of our primary episodes without ads. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to follow, like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music under Big Cats on Spotify. And remember, there is a love out there that won't make you work so hard. Throwing it back to one of our original Just Break Up isms. There is a love out there that will see your best and tell you that you can rest, that you don't have to be perfect all the time, that you don't have to keep it together. You don't always have to be right. You don't always have to work so hard. I know it's hard to say goodbye to love, but there is gentler, easier love out there. And if all else fails,
just break up.